Hello everybody, I'm Donovan Hurley and you're listening to Deplorable Radio. Now today I want to talk about race relations. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm a white guy. Hell, I'm so white I glow. But I can still talk about race relations because Caucasian happens to be a race. Specifically, I want to talk about Black Lives Matter and why sometimes it seems like it doesn't really matter to a lot of blacks. Chicago recorded 762 murders in 2016. Now that's more than New York City and Los Angeles combined. That's up 57%. 57% from 2015. That's the largest single-year increase in 60 years. Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson said it's becoming clearer to criminals that they have little to fear from the criminal justice system. He went on to say, in Chicago, we just don't have a deterrent to pick up a gun. Anytime a guy stealing a loaf of bread spends more time pre-trial in jail than a gun offender, something is wrong, Johnson said. You think? The vast majority of the murders and shootings, which jumped from 2,426 in 2015 to 3,550 in 2016, occurred in just 5 neighborhoods on the city's south and west side. These neighborhoods are all poor and are mostly black areas that the gangs are most active. Now, according to the police, these shootings in these neighborhoods generally are not random. More than 80% of the victims were known to the police as having gang ties and or previous arrests. So why the surge? There's a number of reasons, but the biggest reason is the release of a video showing a white officer shooting a black 17-year-old boy 16 times. 16 times, that's pretty extreme. This led to the stoppage of Chicago's stop and frisk policy. It cost the former police superintendent Gary McCarthy his job and led to federal and state investigations. Now, because of these investigations, the police are afraid that if they do their job, they're going to get caught up in the investigation themselves. They're probably right. This led to a dramatic drop in the number of arrests in 2016, and the criminals know that any perceived racism on the part of the police will be looked at under a microscope. Superintendent Johnson acknowledged in a recent interview with the Associated Press that officers have become more cautious, in part out of fear of becoming the next viral video. That, he said, has emboldened criminals. He went on to say criminals watch TV, they pay attention to the media, they see an opportunity to commit a nefarious activity. Most of America became aware of the push to tag all police as racist after the shooting of Michael Brown on August 9, 2014 in Ferguson, Missouri. And Michael Brown was an 18-year-old black man with an extensive criminal record. Officer Darren Wilson, a white officer responding to a request for backup in the search for 2 suspects in a strong-armed robbery of a local market, came upon Brown and his friend Dorian Johnson. They fit the description. A scuffle broke out, and Officer Wilson was forced to shoot Brown as he charged towards him. Brown's friend, Johnson, lied to investigators, telling them that Brown was stopped with his hands in the air, begging the officer not to shoot. The press, liberals, and the Hollyweird types all jumped on the wagon with the hands up, don't shoot narrative long after it was proven that it simply did not happen that way. Personally, I think this issue goes back to Obama's beer summit and even before that. The left loves to claim ownerships of all issues of race, gender, alternative lifestyles, etc. Obama couldn't resist jumping on a bandwagon after Harvard professor Henry Gates Jr. was arrested in July of 2009 for disorderly conduct after Police Sergeant James Crowley responded to a call of a potential burglary. It seems the professor arrived home after a trip to China to find his front door jammed shut. So with the help of his driver, they forced it open. The activity was reported, and Sergeant Crowley showed up at the house and asked for some sort of proof that the house was actually the professor's. I should mention here that both Gates and his driver were black, and Sergeant Crowley was white. Gates showed Crowley his driver's license and Harvard ID card while loudly and angrily accusing Crowley of racism and racial profiling. Sergeant Crowley turned to leave, and Gates followed him outside, all the way to the sidewalk, yelling and screaming and accusing him. Well, as soon as you hit that sidewalk, that's illegal. So Crowley promptly arrested him for disorderly conduct. Obama, just months into his first term of president, was asked about the arrest at a press conference and started off saying he wasn't there, so didn't know exactly what happened, which is entirely the proper thing for him to say. But then he went on to lament about the injustices towards blacks and Latinos throughout history in America. He even went so far as to say the Cambridge police had acted stupidly. Obama later stated that he regretted the comment and invited both parties over to the White House for a beer. But we got to see exactly how Obama's brain worked when it came to race relations. None of us can forget the death of Freddie Gray, a 25-year-old black man from Baltimore, while in the custody of the police. On April 12, 2015, with Ferguson still fresh in everyone's mind, Gray was arrested and subsequently went into a coma as a result of injuries sustained during transport to jail, and he died on April 19. Protests had already started the day before. What followed was a disgrace. 16 days of riots, looting, burning, and more shooting, culminating, I'll get it out, in Baltimore City Attorney Marilyn Mosby overcharging 6 officers with the murder of Freddie Gray and then repeatedly withholding evidence from defense attorneys. See, this is something that I don't understand. If you've got this cut and dried case, why would you hide stuff? Why would you lie about stuff? Anyway, 3 of the officers were acquitted, and ultimately the charges were dropped for the other 3. Since then, other officer-involved shootings have happened with protests following, and these aren't officer... Okay, so there's been other officer-involved shootings, and some of them have been legitimate shootings, and some of them haven't. One of the things that I cannot understand is oftentimes the people that they pick to be their poster child for police abuse, any person with common sense would think that that's absolutely the wrong person to choose. But anyway, police nationwide have become targets. Many have been assassinated, all under the umbrella of Black Lives Matter. One important thing to know is that the protesters arrested at these riots, most were not from the community that they were rioting in, leading many to speculate that various liberal organizations had brought them in for the specific purpose of raising as much hell as they could. Now, the left wouldn't do that, would they? Well, much like the left bringing in hellraisers to President Trump's campaign speeches to stir up bad blood, there's evidence that they did that here, too. Soon after the Ferguson riots settled down, the police were called about a riot starting at a local business. So, all dressed up in their Ninja Turtle outfits, they converged on a location to find a sit-in at the local office of Missourians Organizing for Reform and Empowerment. MORE. That's the acronym, MORE. Now, MORE is a successor group to the now bankrupt St. Louis branch of the Association of Community Organizations for Reform Now, ACORN. Remember them dumbasses? They had people that had been dead for years voting. They did all kinds of wonderful things. And the federal government stopped funding to them. That's why they went bankrupt. These sit-in protesters were justifiably pissed off because Moore had promised them $5,000 per month to travel around and join the protests. Holy crap. $5,000 a month to go carrying around a sign, burning buildings now and again. You can't get that kind of cake for bobbing for French fries at Burger King. Problem is, Moore stiffed them. These poor souls worked their tails off, turning over cars, throwing bricks, looting buildings, and burning everything that they could burn. That's hard work, and they wanted their pay. I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, you just can't make this shit up. In an article published on Sunday, the 22nd, the Wall Street Journal is saying that Michael Flynn, President Trump's national security advisor, is being investigated for communications with the Russian ambassador to the U.S. Let's take a look at this in another way. One of these phone calls was allegedly placed by the Russian ambassador to Michael Flynn within hours of the 35 diplomats being expelled from the United States. So, my way of looking at it is, thank God somebody was paying attention to what the hell was going on. But the law in question here is the Logan Act, which was brought in 1799. And the Logan Act bars U.S. citizens from attempting to influence a foreign government involved in a dispute with the U.S. I would hope somebody would try to influence a foreign government. If we were having a problem with a foreign government and really didn't want to have a problem, it'd be kind of nice for somebody to step up and say, hey, let's have a cup of coffee and discuss this. But I guess that's illegal. Interestingly enough, that law was enacted in 1799 and it has never, ever been enforced. And now the FBI, CIA, NSA, Justice Department, Treasury Department is all investigating. Here's the interesting part about that, though. Trump went to, one of his first things as president was he went to the CIA and talked to the people. The people. And he said that he doesn't have any problem with the CIA. And he's telling the truth. He doesn't have a problem with CIA. He's got a problem with the Obama-appointed leadership at the CIA and the NSA and the Justice Department and the Treasury Department. And also, he has a problem because they are also, in a large extent, Clinton appointees. Look at the Justice Department. Loretta Lynch was first appointed as a federal judge by Bill Clinton. She is beholden to Bill Clinton. And so she's also beholden to Hillary Clinton. She donated all kinds of money. The CIA director donated money. The NSA director donated money. Treasury Department. Everybody donated money to Hillary Clinton. And now we're all supposed to say that they're impartial. The present administration, the Trump administration, they don't have a problem with the people that work there. The people that work their ass off there, they don't have that problem. They got a problem with the leadership. But anyway, so let's look at this. So we've got this top secret classified version of the report that went to Obama and then Trump. Then a couple hours later, a few hours later, whatever it was, they came out with a declassified version. Declassified version, according to them, is the names and places have been redacted, and that makes perfect sense. absolutely perfect sense, because wouldn't it be funny, ironic, if we just flat out told the Russians, we hacked you in order to prove that you hacked us? And that's what it was. The names and places that they redacted were the names of the people that hacked into the Russian systems to see. But even then, the report shows no evidence. It shows conjecture. Well, I don't know what court of law is going to accept conjecture, except the court of public opinion that is overwhelmingly ruled by the mainstream media, which is overwhelmingly controlled by the incredibly left-leaning press. So, anyway, whatever's going to happen with all this, it's going to happen. But personally, I don't think anything's going to come of it. But if it does, Trump can just pardon them, kind of like Obama pardoned fucking terrorists. Excuse my language. Anyway, this has been Donovan Hurley on Deplorable Radio. I'm going to be on here once a week until I finally get my act together, and then I'll be on daily. I hope that this video is a little bit higher quality than the last one. The last one kind of was terrible. And we'll see what happens. But I will see you guys next week. Peace, everybody.